it's not these people's fault. And I think to the one credit of people, it's a new problem. The argument is, well, yes, AI will take the fry cooks jobs and maybe some of the mathematicians and stuff. But that's good because then we can all go fucking sing Kumbaya and paint rocks and smoke weed and la-di-da. But my argument is, no, you don't fucking get it. You do not get it. The AI, I genuinely believe it. Maybe this is cynical, but I think that I will be proven right on this, or just the idea will be that as much as I do value, laughter and art and music, it's all a matter of computation. It's all a matter of ones and zeros in the same way that someone can study, the book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and you can see the patterns of a story in that way and write a better story because of that. I sincerely believe, and you're already seeing it with the fucking AI art. You're already seeing it with this. I think we're about within 10 to 15 years away from not only forget the fry cook shit, forget those jobs, which will definitely be displaced by AI. The AI is going to come for the job of the artist. And here's a serious question for people. I want people to think about this. If there's a script out that gets written, that's a horror movie that's written by AI. The AI takes every, movie above 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb that's a horror movie. Takes every amazing script of the last 50 years or 100 years, or even, fuck that, for the last 500 or 1,000 years, every horror story that's acclaimed. And the AI goes, and it fucking gobbles it up in 1 second. And not only does it spit out a good script for a good horror movie, it spits people walk out of the movie and their ghost, they go, I can't, you just have to watch it. It's not only the scariest movie I've ever seen before. It literally hacked my brain. It's better than any horror movie any human will ever write. I think that is a matter of time. I think it's a matter of computation. I don't think that's anything. As much as I love my job, it's mostly artists and journalists and people that do sort of quote unquote creative stuff, almost looking down on the more mechanical stuff and going, well, Boston Dynamics is going to replace the fucking dude in Missouri lifting boxes, but they're not going to come for my, my journalism job. I think, in my humble opinion, I think it's going to come for everything creative. And when the AI does everything, if it can literally think a better thought than you could ever hope and dream on any substance or clear-minded or with meditation, at that point, is humanity, do we unplug it? Do we turn it off? Do we regulate it? People, because I still see, we did, excuse me, my friends and I, we did a little video on his channel where we play with one of those AI art programs, and you give it a prompt, and it's like, I'm sure you guys have all seen this, where you type in Homer Simpson caught on trail cam, and it spits out something a little weird but funny. That was not even possible to the degree it is publicly 5 years ago. In 10 years, what happens if you type something in and it not only is good, it's better than anything that you could have fucking ever thought of? At what point do people realize the jig is up and we're not that special? And not in a way where we're not special. Humans are very special. I'm not a kind of a pessimistic, nihilist. I think we're insanely special, and I think the value is what we kind of put in reality. And I apologize for monologuing here, but I want to kick this back to you guys because my argument is still, what I was going to say was, on that video, I even saw some people still kind of having cognitive dissonance and going, well, this isn't going to take over jobs. This is just some computer thing. I don't know if anyone's seen the show Devs, but what happens when it gets when you can feed that to a quantum computer and it spits out an art piece that's better than anything you've ever. And by the way, you can't help but react. Even if you go into the movie and you go, it's not going to affect me, and you watch it and you're like, it's just for some reason hitting every button inside of you where you're going, oh my, I can't help but react. I don't know. I think that's an interesting little philosophical thing. And I don't see anybody talking about the art element of that. In that way, the movie, the comedian, that's the other thing, by the way. What happens when the comedian, the best comedian on the planet, is an AI, and literally every joke it tells, you don't just laugh, you can't help but keel over with a red face, and you're spitting fucking spit up. You're spitting black bile and mucus and yellow bile and blood all into your mouth because you're laughing so hard. At that point, what do we do? And I think it's a matter of when, not if. That's my opinion. But I'll kick it back to you guys and hear what you got to say.
Years ago, I did a survey with a research project that Harvard was doing about music. And you answered a whole lot of questions. And if I remember, you listened to samples and kind of rated if you liked them or whatever. At the end, it gave you a profile of music that you liked. And I remember it so distinctly because the things like the number one thing in the music that I like apparently is distinctive male vocals. And I think about the music I do like. I love Kenny Rogers. Well, you can hear Kenny Rogers and know it's him instantly. I love Elvis. Nobody sounds like Elvis. You hear it instantly. I love Guns N' Roses. All the shit that I love has a guy who has a very unique voice. And I thought, wow, they really got the art that I like. This was, I mean, dial-up days almost. So it was a really long time ago. And now with the stuff that you're talking about, Zach, with DALL-E and the AI generated stuff, and like, that's a lot of fun. I wonder about adaptive art. So let's say you're watching a movie on Netflix and it's a love story. And based on all my watch history and all my cookies and analysis of everything they can analyze, it takes me like a choose your own adventure path, takes me down that. If anybody remembers those books, you would read the book and then like make a choice and turn to page 48 if you chose this and 71 if you chose that. And the story depended on your choices. Well, why can't a movie automatically know what I'm going to want to see? And I see this love story and maybe it turns into a tragedy and doesn't work out in the end. And that's something that resonates with me. You watch this love story and it works out and they live happily ever after. And they're you're happy with that because it knows what you're going to like and the art will adapt to that. Maybe I can hear a song and a generic pop song all of a sudden has a voice that is unlike anything I've ever heard before because I like that. And when you listen, the guitar is much more prominent because you like hard lead guitars. I think that happens and we would enjoy the art more, but we would lose the ability to get the artist's vision. I don't see why that's not going to happen real soon. And I think there's going to be a distinction between art that is catered to you and art that is coming directly from the artist.
That's pretty much what I was going to say is like, because I can see a bifurcation between what you're talking about and what I think continually will be relevant. And that's there can be AI generated art that's very good and it's very popular and it makes blockbuster movies and, a ton of people love those. Newsflash, that's kind of sort of what happens already with this like Hollywood system of movies by committee where you have all these people and music too, where you'll have like 19 people who write one song for Beyonce. It's like,
absolutely.
The reason that they're doing that is that they all have different talents and they're kind of coagulating to make this one perfectly like radio friendly pop song that they know people will like. But the thing that the AI can't do, though, is inject personal experience, life experience. Like it can crunch what has been created before into a new thing. However, what we were talking about earlier with like, personal tragedy and friction and malevolence and all of these sort of like weird things that are impossible to calculate that come together in, a PsychicPebbles brain and then eventually turns into PsychicPebbles art. I don't see how the AI does that.
I see. This is, I'm sure you guys have pre-written questions, so I'm happy to go to that. But just to put a final thought on this, because I think it's very interesting, I would say, because I had the exact same thought, isn't that what a person does? Not to take away from what the person does, because I do believe there is kind of, a spooky kind of magic to art. We're the only, I know elephants, if you give them a paintbrush, there's other animals that can create, but there's something very uniquely human about taking all these experiences and, like we say, crunching those up and going, well, I lived through X, Y, and Z, and that's why it's a personal story. But that's all an AI would do in a way. Like as an example, to go back to the book of The Hero with a Thousand Faces, what that basically proposes, and I think it's right, I do believe in this, I think it's a correct, opinion, is that there are general pre-built archetypes in the brain that we all resonate with. So we all resonate, as an example, if you look at dreams people have, you can look at dreams all over the world, and by country, it varies a little bit. So, in Australia, people have a few more dreams about snakes. In some Asian countries, they dream a little bit more about, tigers. You could go down the list that exact same way. But everybody has dreams about falling all over the whole world. Everyone has dreams about their teeth falling out. Everyone has dreams about getting chased. So there is some kind of inherent, I don't know if it's a product of evolution or what it is, but it must be. But there's a clear infrastructure. There's like a hardware that everybody can resonate with. So you could show somebody, and it's why some movies resonate hardcore overseas and and in America, but some movies really only resonate with the Chinese audience, or some movies only resonate with an American audience. I do believe an AI could look at everything and go and see the patterns that not even we can see, because all it is data crunching, and I say all it is, but we're the only ones that can do that right now, so it does seem a little bit extra. But I do believe you could build an AI that could say, oh, I see the similarity of why, as an example, why George Carlin is one of the bigger comedians, or why, Bill Burr, and those are people that I am aware of. I'm sure not everybody would find them funny, but as you guys say, if there's like adaptive and specific art, I not to be cynical, I would hope this wouldn't be the case, but I think there would kind of be a forbidden fruit thing where people at first would be really pissed off about it. I think it would be a big like, no, fuck, like everyone would kind of boycott the AI art. I think and you'd see people walk out of the theater or out of the little booth or whatever it would be, where, like, as you say, scans your face. Imagine if it's a little camera scanning every micro expression, and as you become maybe not even perceivably more excited, it goes, okay, that's what you want, and it keeps hitting you with that and following that. Imagine, and again, I think people would at first look at that and go, I boycott. That's not art. That's not. But imagine if you did it once, and literally the emotion it gave you was the biggest high you've ever felt. It would be I think a real like philosophical and societal thing we'd have to address. I think it would become a weird mental kind of heroin thing. I remember some of my favorite theater experiences where you walk out and you're like, fuck, and you're thinking about it like the next day. Imagine that, but you're thinking about it for a month. You're just obsessed because it hit every little button, and it knew how to do that. So I'm kind of retreading water here, but I just, more than anything, I'm curious what the comments of this video say, because I think we've kind of, shared a perspective. Unless you guys want to say something more. My answer is I don't know, and I'm a little bit more curious because people at first rejected automobiles in a way. You know what I mean? There was a big push against the idea of any kind of automation or any new thing. There was kind of, even the internet took a little bit for people to get around to, but once something's around for long enough, unfortunately, or fortunately, or however you view it, it just kind of does crack down the resistance until it's a fine powder, and everyone just kind of goes, all right, I guess this is the thing we're doing now. But yeah. Someone says Zach rambles the podcast. You're not wrong. Moving on.